إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الطلب حي على الطلب الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Today I'd like to keep my khutbah short, simple, and to the point. So today I'm just going to share a simple story, inshallah, and then list 2 or 3 benefits that I got from the story, and then we'll conclude, inshallah. But in my opinion, this is a very beneficial story. It's very simple, but I feel like you get a lot of benefits from it, inshallah. So this is a story of a Sahabi named Tufail ibn Amr, radiallahu anhu. His full name is Tufail ibn Amr ad-Dawsi. That's important, and you'll see why. So Tufail ibn Amr was from a tribe in the southern part of Arabia, which is called Yemen, called ad-Daws. So he was the chieftain of the tribe, so he was the leader. And he was well known among the Arabs, both from Yemen and from the other side, the northern side. So in Mecca, Medina, and all these places. And like I said, he was the chieftain, so obviously he was a person of a lot of importance. And he would do trade and business with the people of Mecca. So one day, he came to Mecca during the time when the Prophet Muhammad was in Mecca along with the other Muslims, and they were being persecuted and boycotted and whatnot. So he came just to do some business. That was it. And the Quraysh, the pagans of Mecca, came to him and said, okay, look, I know you're here to do business or whatever, but there's somebody in our tribe who's causing a lot of problems. He's breaking up families. He's going against our tradition. He's doing this and that. They made him out to be, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to be like the worst person ever, right? And they're like, look, we're just warning you against this guy. So if he starts talking to you, just ignore him. Don't listen to anything he says, because all he's gonna do is break apart your family. They also said he's a magician and a poet at the same time. I don't know why they just threw anything at him. Because he's a magician and a poet. He'll do magic on you. He'll do this and that. Anything bad they could think of, they said that he did it. And so Tufail said, okay, all right, that's what you got to tell me. All right, I'll avoid it. So he wasn't coming to do business, my bad. He was going to do tawaf. So he was doing hajj. So he would be circling around the Kaaba, and he would see the Prophet Muhammad reciting the Quran. And what he would do, he got scared. So he literally took cotton and put it in his ears so he couldn't hear what the Prophet Muhammad was saying. Now, of course, it wasn't that effective because you can still hear a little bit of what he's saying, even nowadays with like earplugs and whatnot. You can still hear a little bit of what somebody's saying. You can still hear some sounds. But that's what he did nonetheless, because he was that afraid. They scared him that much. So one day it was nighttime, I believe, and he was doing tawaf, or circling around the Kaaba, and he could hear a little bit of Prophet Muhammad because he was praying. It was either Maghrib or Isha at the time because it was night, and obviously he was reciting the Quran out loud. So Tufail is hearing it a little bit, and he's thinking to himself, listen, I'm a chief of a whole tribe. I'm not dumb. I'm a smart guy. If this guy is saying something that is wrong, I can tell if it's wrong. If he's saying something good, then I can take it. So I have an intellect, I have a mind, I can decide for myself whether it's good or not. So he took it out of the cotton out of his ears, and he started to listen. And he heard the Quran for the first time. And then something in his heart was like, hold on, wait. this has to be true. There's something with this. It's not just some magic or whatever. This is something else. So the Prophet Muhammad finished praying and then went back to his house, which at the time was Khadija's house, radiyallahu anha. And he knocked on the door and told the Prophet Muhammad, look, my name is Tufail ibn Amr. I'm the leader of this tribe. I heard the Quran or what you were reciting. I thought it was beautiful. Can you please explain to me what exactly is going on between you and your tribe? Like, what's the actual issue? So the Prophet Muhammad sat him down, introduced him to Islam, told him what Islam is, told him about the Tawheed, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And really that was it, because you have to think. This is early Mecca. So there isn't much, like in terms of like rulings, there isn't much in terms of, like more of the deep things within like Islam in terms of like the Sharia and the laws and things like that. It was more just about Aqidah and the belief that there's only one God worthy of worship. And also basic things like being good to people, staying away from certain immoralities and things like that. So that's really all he heard. And that was enough for him to convert to Islam on the spot, as soon as he heard that. So then what he decided to do, he told the Prophet Muhammad like, look, I'm the leader of a whole tribe, and I want them to become Muslim too. But I feel like they're not going to listen to me. So could you ask Allah to give me a miracle? Like a small, not a big miracle, just a small little miracle. And so the Prophet Muhammad made dua and asked Allah to give him a miracle. And that miracle was that light would come from his face. And he said, okay, but I feel like if they see that, they might think something's wrong with me. So instead, he had a light coming from his whip that he had. So he went back to his tribe at Dos with a light coming from his whip. And the people saw that and were like, okay, what's going on here? Like, this is different. And so he immediately went like to his father and to his wife, who were the closest people to him, his father and his wife. And he said, I don't know what y'all are doing, but I have nothing to do with anything y'all doing. Because y'all are not Muslim, and I am Muslim. You're worshiping this idol, I don't got nothing to do with that. You're worshiping this tree, I got nothing to do with that. Like, immediately. First thing, he didn't say hi, hello, nothing. First thing he did, I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. I don't worship idols, I don't worship rocks, I don't worship statues, nothing. First thing he did. And they're like, well, what's going on? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you going against us already? You just got here. He was like, I'm a Muslim now. I talked to this man, the Prophet Muhammad and he taught me that there's only one God worthy of worship, and that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the heavens and the earth and everything in between it, and that all these idols and these statues are not worthy of worship. And so then they also converted. So then what do you think happened after that? You think everybody else converted? No. It was really only him, his father, and his wife. Everybody else didn't want to convert. And the reason why, and the reason that is deducted based on what Tufail himself said, is that it wasn't that they were arrogant like the Quraysh. Because the Quraysh didn't want to convert because they felt a bit of pride and arrogance. Like, look, these are our traditions. My great-great-great-great-great-grandfather worshipped this idol. I don't care if it's a rock and it doesn't do anything for me. My great-great-great-granddad did it, so I'm going to do it. That's not what the tribe of Dos, that's not the reason why the tribe of Dos didn't convert. The reason why they didn't convert is because of the sins that they were doing. So specifically Tufail mentioned that they are, what's the word he used? They're like saturated in zina, so illegal sexual intercourse, and riba, interest. They can't stop doing that. So that's the thing that was stopping them from converting. Which even though we know, even if they did convert and they were doing that, they're still Muslim. But they couldn't give that up. That was very difficult for them to give up. That was like part of their culture. So he went to the Prophet Muhammad and he said, look, Tufail does not play games. He was like, look, my people are not listening. They're hard-headed, they're stubborn. Make dua that Allah destroys all of them. This is his tribe, by the way. He's the leader of this tribe. And he's saying, I'm tired of these people. And he only gave them dawah for 1 year. Imagine if he was in Nuh's position, where Nuh was giving dawah for 950 years. So he said, look, I'm tired of these people. They're not listening to me. Only my wife and my dad converted. That's it. The rest of these people, they're finished. Destroy them. And make dua that Allah destroys them. So the Prophet Muhammad raised his hands up to the sky and he said, Oh Allah, guide Dos. Instead of saying destroy Dos, he said, Allah, guide Dos. Which is a general rule. The Prophet Muhammad rarely ever made dua against someone. The only time he would usually make dua against a group of people is if those people were arrogant. like in the case of the Quraysh, where they were killing people, persecuting people, things like that. At those, their issue was more of like, people say in Arabic, like they're like miskeen. Like, they're just too ignorant. Like they're just too ignorant. That's their problem. Like they just don't have enough willpower to stop their sins. It's not necessarily that they're arrogant or that they want to harm Muslims or anything like that. They were just minding their own business. It's just that they're too ignorant and they just don't have the willpower to stop their sins. So Prophet Muhammad ﷺ asked Allah to guide them. So then after reading that dua, he came back. Tufail ibn Amr came back to his tribe. And over 80 families, not people, families. So that means a husband, a wife or his wives, and their children. 80 families converted to Islam because of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's dua. Now imagine the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ actually did what Tufail asked him to do and said, "Oh Allah, destroy those." Those families would not have converted. And we know the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, his dua is never rejected. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ obviously made the right decision, as he always does, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so 80 families converted to Islam, including one person named Abdurrahman ibn Sakhr. I'm going to explain who that is in a minute. For those who know, you know, but I'm going to explain who that is in a minute, and you'll see why that's very important. But that concludes the first part of the khutbah, and let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So, I went over the story of Tufail ibn Amr and how he was a leader of the tribe of Dos. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ gave da'wah to him. He immediately gave da'wah to his people. Some of them converted, some of them didn't. He waited a bit longer, and then 80 families converted. And then, of course, eventually, throughout time, the whole tribe converted. Alhamdulillah. And I mentioned someone named Abdurrahman bin Sakhr. Now, this seems like a basic story, and it is. There's several stories in the seerah of the life of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, where it was basic things like this. Someone comes, meets him, they convert to Islam, he gives da'wah to his people. This is a little bit unique in that this is in the Meccan era. So this is when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is in Mecca. He didn't go to Medina yet. This is actually long before he goes to Medina. So this man, Tufail ibn Amr, is one of the very few people who is not from Mecca who converted to Islam during that period. You can literally count the amount of people who are not Meccans that converted to Islam at that time on like one finger. So he was one of the few people that converted during that time. And so some of the benefits that I get from this, and it'll be very quick and very brief. Number one is that we should be giving more da'wah. And that da'wah is a very extremely important thing for us to do. Now we know in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, especially in Surah Al-Nahl, about calling to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good teaching, right? Tufail ibn Amr, the first thing he did when he learned about Islam, and like I said before, he does not know that much. He can't call towards, okay, make sure you guys pray 5 times a day. Make sure you guys, let me think of something like fasting or anything like that. He's not calling towards like the laws necessarily. All he really knows is that there is only one God worthy of worship. And that's really all he called towards. When his wife converted, he said, okay, I need you to take like a bath, like do ghusl basically. And they had like a pond that was dedicated towards an idol. And so he said, go there and make your ghusl, take your bath to be clean. And she said, I don't know, but that's dedicated towards that idol. Like I'm scared, like what if that idol does something? And he's like, listen, that idol cannot do anything for you. It's a rock, it's stones. Go there and do it now, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one that can protect you or harm you. That is it. That thing is nothing. Immediately, that's what he called for, tawheed. And so I wonder why, now I'm asking myself this as well, like why we don't do that? When we think that we need to know like all this stuff, we need to know the ins and outs of Islam in order to call people towards it, to talk to people about it, and we don't. We all know what tawheed is, right? That there's only one God worthy of worship except for Allah. That's the basics of it. Of course, there's more you can go into depth about it, but that's a simple explanation of it, right? How easy is that to say? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said in authentic hadith, "Ballighu anni walau ayah," which means convey from me, even if it's one ayah of the Quran. We all know at least one ayah of the Quran. We can at least talk about that a little bit, right? Now, this doesn't mean you have to be like a preacher and go out and be like, hey, you're all wrong, you're all this and that. No. You can give da'wah in many different ways. And one of the best ways that I found is just simply through your actions. So, for example, you're at work, and you don't just hide the fact that you're Muslim. You tell people, yeah, I'm Muslim, I pray, I do this. Yeah, I'm on lunch break, I'm probably going to go pray. People are going to ask about it. People are going to inquire about it. Because as we believe as Muslims, everyone is born upon the fitrah, the natural inclination to believe in Allah and to believe that Allah is one God worthy of worship. Basically an inclination towards Islam. So if somebody hears about that, and I've witnessed it several times, if someone hears what you do as a Muslim, the practices you do and why you do them, they'll be interested. If they're someone who's sincere, they'll be interested and want to ask and learn more about it. So why would you not take that opportunity to educate somebody? You don't necessarily have to be pushing to them to convert or whatever. Just let them know what Islam is, let them know that you're a Muslim, let your presence be known as a Muslim. You shouldn't just be like, oh, I'm a normal person like everybody else, I'll just keep quiet. No, people should know that you're Muslim. People should know that I'm Muslim. You know, we should be very open and like, we should be, you know what I mean? Things like that. So that's the first thing that I got from this, is that Tufayl ibn Amr was extremely confident when just a little bit of something he knew. And he immediately went and started giving dawah to his people, immediately. Specifically the people that he was closest to, which I believe the scholar says that's the best thing to do, is give dawah to people that you're close to, so like your close family members, your close friends, and things like that. And also, by the way, this is not just for non-Muslims. You can even give dawah to Muslims, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. Muslims also need dawah. You can also tell a Muslim, hey, you know, listen what you're doing, I think this is not correct according to the Quran or whatever, things like that. You can also give Muslims dawah, inviting them to come to the masjid, inviting them to pray more often, inviting them, you know what I mean, to do good deeds. So that's one benefit that I got from it. The second one is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides whom He wills. Now, a lot of times when we read the Quran, we get confused. Especially when we read where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says things like, Allah guides whom He wills, He leads astray whom He wills. Even in the beginning of this khutbah, when I was giving the hajjah, I said, the translation is that anyone who Allah guides, no one can misguide him. And anyone that Allah leads astray, nobody can guide him. Now, people might wonder, so Allah leads people astray? Allah is the one that makes people misguided? Now, if you read the Quran further, you'll understand what this actually means. Nowhere in the Quran does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say He misguides somebody for no reason. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the person, or not even misguide, He leaves them upon their misguidance. So the person, if you read the Quran, and there are several ayahs, I don't have them all written down here, but inshallah, maybe one day I can go further into detail about this, because it's actually a really big topic, and it goes into the belief of qadr, which is predestiny. But basically, a human being, for example, let's give an example of someone like Abu Lahab, right? Did he have a choice in being misguided? Or did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him the choice? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did give him the choice. What this goes into is something called, there's people who are called Jabr, which means that they believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forces people to do actions. That is not what we as Muslims believe, as proper Muslims believe. What happens is, Abu Lahab was already someone who was arrogant. Abu Lahab was already somebody who had arrogance and evil in his heart. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees that, and based off of that, He lets him do what he's doing. That's essentially what it means. In fact, there's an ayah, I don't know the exact ayah, but it translates to, if Allah saw any good in them, He would have guided them. That means that person is already someone who's bad. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's up to us. If we are open and sincere, Allah will guide us. Like Tufayl ibn Amr. The Quraysh were arrogant. They didn't want to listen. Tufayl stopped and thought to himself, look, I can tell right from wrong. I know what's right, I know what's wrong. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide me if it's true. So I'll listen. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided him because he was sincere and he was looking for the truth. So that's the second one. And the third one, and I believe this is the most, one of the main motivations for doing dawah, is who Abdurrahman ibn Sakhr is. Abdurrahman ibn Sakhr is the actual name of the famous Sahabi Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. Now, just in case you don't know who Abu Hurairah is, Abu Hurairah narrated the most amount of ahadith out of all the Sahaba. I think maybe there's like dispute whether it was him or Aisha, radiallahu anha. But out of the male companions, he narrated the most amount of hadith. Any famous hadith you can think of, he probably narrated. And I mean that with no exaggeration. Literally, any authentic hadith that is sound and that is extremely famous that everybody knows, he probably narrated. Now, why am I mentioning that? I'm mentioning that because he converted to Islam because of Tufail ibn Amr's dawah. Because Tufail ibn Amr gave him dawah. And Tufail ibn Amr is not that famous of a Sahabi. This is about all we know of him, that he was the leader of the Dows tribe, he converted to Islam, he gave dawah to his people, and then he died like shortly after. That's really all we know. But he guided someone, or Allah guided someone through him, who narrated the most amount of hadith out of any of the male Sahaba. And we know that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ talks about the deeds that you get from guiding somebody in several hadith. So for example, in Sahih Muslim, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says, or it's translated to say, when a man dies, all his good deeds stop, except for three. Sadaqah Jariyah, which is an ongoing charity, beneficial knowledge, and a righteous son, or a righteous child that makes dua for them. Now look at the second one, beneficial knowledge. Why does that stay with you when you die? So that means, so for example, I'm praying, I die. I can't keep praying. But if I give Sadaqah Jariyah, an ongoing charity, that will still be on my good deeds. If I have a righteous child, inshallah I do one day, and they make dua for me when I die, they are giving me good deeds by making dua for me, and they're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless me and to forgive me for my sins and things like that. So that is a good deed on me. And then beneficial knowledge. Another hadith that expounds upon this is narrated in Sahih Muslim by Abu Musab, where the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, whoever guides to goodness gets the reward as if he did it. So Tufail ibn Amr is getting the same good deeds as Abu Hurairah, who narrated the most hadith. Like I'm telling you, Google any hadith you want. Anyone. Any famous hadith that you know. The first one that comes to your mind. I guarantee you there's a 90% chance Abu Hurairah narrated it. He's that famous. He's that popular. So Tufail ibn Amr, even though he's not that famous of a Sahabi, he's getting the same good deeds as Abu Hurairah. Now imagine what we could do. Imagine if we gave dawah to someone. You don't have to be like preachy. Oh, this is Tawheed, this is Islam, go up to somebody. It doesn't have to be like that. Just simple things. Yeah, I'm Muslim. I pray to Allah, and I worship Him alone. Yeah, that's it. That's all I do. Just saying that one thing, that might get him interested. Then he converts to Islam, and then that person could turn out to be like a famous sheikh, or like a famous imam. Like think about some of the people that we know, or that are famous. For example, people like, I don't know if you guys know Yusuf Estes. He's like I believe he was a pastor, like in Texas, and he converted to Islam. He studied Islam, and now he's preaching it to everybody. That one person who gave him dawah, we don't know who that person is. But he's getting the same good deeds as Yusuf Estes right now, just by giving him a little bit of dawah. So imagine that could happen for us. Imagine we teach somebody, even on a smaller scale. Let's say someone needs to know how to read the Quran, for example. And you know how to read the Quran very well, and you teach that person. From now on, whatever you taught that person, so let's say, for example, they're saying qaf incorrectly, and you teach them how to say qaf. Something simple like that. Now, whenever that person recites qaf correctly, you get a good deed for that. Whenever he recites the letter qaf correctly, you get a good deed for that. So, those are just three things that I thought were beneficial. I think it's something we should take into consideration, especially the last one, because oftentimes we have knowledge or we know something, and we feel a little shy to share it because we don't think we know a lot. But literally anything you know, try to share it with somebody. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you. And any good deed that person gets, you will also get it. And we are all in need of good deeds.
Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah. Qad qamati salah, qad qamati salah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadan Rasulullah.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Don't forget your zakat obligations. If you want to do it on Cash App, it is $MWSALAAM. Also, don't forget that there is food out in the kitchen for donation. If you want to do your zakat and send it to the P.O. Box, it is P.O. Box 1802, Norfolk, Virginia 23501. Or you can mail it directly to the Masjid at 614 West 35th Street, Norfolk, Virginia 23508. We will, open tomorrow and Sunday morning, inshallah, for Fajr prayer. I'm not sure about the art class. I haven't seen the brother. I think he's a little bit under the weather. But we will continue to do the Quranic recitation at 1 o'clock. We've had great participation, so inshallah, we will definitely continue that. And all the way through Ramadan. We have to be obviously prepared for Ramadan. We're going to try to continue to keep the masjid open as much as possible for all 5 of the prayers, inshallah. On Sunday, we won't have Ta'aleem. All the members of the masjid, we have an emergency meeting. So everyone, if you're not here now, please let someone know who is a member to be here at 1 o'clock. We have some important business matters to discuss on Sunday at 1 o'clock. So please let everyone know, yourself be in attendance and everyone else know to be here for that emergency meeting. We sent an email out, but there's some people who may not have seen the email. I have been recording members and people who are interested in explaining their story on their journey to Al-Islam, and I'll continue to do so. My sister, after this, is going to do her little video as well, so anybody who is interested, we're going to make this a little collage. Just some people and their journey to Al-Islam, if they're interested in explaining it. We've had some great stories, a lot of brothers and sisters who are telling that their journey to Al-Islam and how they were introduced to it and how they accepted it. It is important for us to know as a community and for us to be able to explain that to other people, because like the brother was saying here about dawah, that's a great way for dawah to be expressed, and it's something that will continue on. Your journey, your story, someone may hear that 20 years from now and feel the same way, and that is obviously something that will be beneficial to them. I was in here a couple of days ago just reading in here, and a brother knocked on the door, rung the bell, and said he wanted to take Shahadatain from listening to a video on YouTube. Something that I don't even know what he heard, but he heard something from the recordings that we had and wanted to take the Shahadatain. So one of those videos could be something that's an inspiration that you give that could be to someone else. It could benefit you when you are left this earth. So again, did I forget anything? That's the pressing information issue that's going on today, is on Sunday. So with that said, Assalamu alaikum.
Time, spring forward.
Oh yeah, what is that going to be, next week? This Sunday? This Sunday. Yeah, thank you for that, very important. So that means next week, Jumu'ah prayer will be an hour later. So it'll be about 1:15. Our Jumu'ah prayer is at the time of Dhuhr. So it'll be an hour late. Thank you very much. That's very, very important. I'm glad you mentioned that. The brother's going to send an email out. I'll put it on our website to make sure that everyone knows this. And I'll change the bulletin board out there as well. It's going to be an hour difference. Sister Jackie's supposed to have it. Gotta blame somebody.
That's all right. How you doing? You been chilling? You been chilling? You ready to do it?
How you doing, huh?
I wasn't talking about that one. That's everybody. There was but it's like English and if Allah knew there was some good in him, then he would have done it. It's talking about or in there. I'll probably talk about it more.
Thank you.
Walaikum salam.